The galaxy had always been a sprawling expanse of disparate civilizations. Once, there was a delicate balance among the planets, a mutual respect for borders, cultures, and allegiances. The Androxy, wise and diplomatic, held sway over trade routes. The Sharnites, fierce but fair, protected isolated systems from petty disputes. Then there were the Audran, revered for their intellect, who built diplomatic outposts, knitting together fragile alliances across sectors. But this tenuous peace was shattered when the Crozarians appeared from beyond the galactic rim. United under no banners but their own, the Crozarians quickly dismantled whatever notion of peace existed, replacing it with fear. The Crozarians swept in like an unstoppable storm, one that no civilization could have anticipated. Towering in size and covered in thick, armored scales, they viewed the galaxy as their rightful conquest. Their ships, vast and dark, blotted out the stars, approaching planets silently before their blasters unleashed torrents of destruction. When they landed on a world, they didn't stop until every city was reduced to rubble. Entire populations disappeared overnight, with survivors whispering of metallic giants, seemingly invincible and devoid of mercy. Advanced civilizations tried to resist, deploying their best defenses and arming their fleets. But the Crozarian warships, armed with energy fields and cannons that seemed beyond comprehension, plowed through defenses like a hot blade through ice. Word of the Crozarian conquests spread quickly. The Audran's embassies, once bustling with life, now sat abandoned. The Androxy traders, who once navigated every sector with confidence, took shelter on their home planets, their trade routes lost. The Sharnite protectors, once the galaxy's guardians, had been reduced to small, scattered factions, no longer able to defend even their own worlds. Planet by planet, system by system, the Crozarians continued their campaign, converting each civilization they touched into mere echoes of the proud societies they once were. The galaxy's most powerful races surrendered or vanished under the Crozarian fist, forced to kneel or be destroyed. Their resistance was futile, their alliances weak against the sheer might of the Crozarian armada. Among these beaten, fearful species, there was faint talk of a new civilization, an upstart race from a relatively unknown planet. These humans were hardly a blip on the galactic radar, a young species only recently joining the interstellar scene. Their advancements in technology were far behind those of the Androxy or the Sharnites. The other races saw humanity as insignificant, naive newcomers, their small fleets untested and inexperienced. To the survivors and conquered races, it seemed absurd to think these, humans, could offer any significant help, much less stand a chance against a force as overpowering as the Crozarians. Voices murmured with skepticism, some mocking. The humans would either fall in line or fade into obscurity. In the heart of Earth's capital, a high-stakes council convened, gathering Earth's top leaders, strategists, and scientists. The air was tense as reports of the Crozarian rampage played across holoscreens, each image worse than the last, entire planets wiped clean of life, fleets shattered and reduced to debris, and countless races fleeing from their homes. Earth's leaders debated fiercely. Some argued that humanity was unprepared, that Earth was still new to galactic politics, and should lay low until they understood the full extent of the threat. The Crozarians had crushed civilizations far older and stronger than humanity, and to even think of intervening seemed reckless. Yet, the majority refused to sit idle. Humans had watched the horrors from a distance long enough. This wasn't just a galactic threat, it was a moral one. Humanity had fought long and hard to earn its place among the stars, and to stand back while others suffered went against everything they had fought for. Arguments flew back and forth, but in the end, the Council reached a decision: humanity would act, but not with an overwhelming force. They would take a calculated risk. Earth's leading scientists and tacticians had been working on an experimental warship, one that could potentially hold its own in the face of the Crozarian menace. Rather than deploying an entire fleet that would leave Earth defenseless, they would send this single warship, codenamed Aegis, to stand as a symbol of humanity's commitment to the galaxy. It would be a surgical strike, a mission born of strategy and defiance. The decision was met with skepticism and shock. Send only one ship? The Council was taking a gamble, betting everything on a single vessel. But the logic was sound. A single, highly specialized warship could enter Crozarian space undetected, leveraging advanced technology and surprise to its advantage. This ship wasn't just another addition to Earth's fleet, it was a prototype, designed with breakthrough weaponry, advanced cloaking systems, and adaptive AI. Its hull was reinforced with cutting-edge alloys, able to withstand direct hits from conventional weaponry. Even its energy systems had been configured to harness power from nearby stars in the event of long engagements. Every element of Aegis was crafted with precision, created for this exact moment. The crew selected for Aegis was nothing short of the best humanity had to offer. Commanding the mission was Captain Alaina Kerr, a decorated strategist with years of experience in space operations. Alongside her were specialists from every field, engineers who could keep the ship operational under any condition, weapons experts, and intelligence officers trained in alien technology. Each crew member understood the risks. Every one of them was prepared for the worst. They weren't just going to fight. They were humanity's message to the galaxy that Earth would not stand by while others suffered. In the final moments before departure, Captain Kerr addressed her team, her voice carrying the resolve that had brought humanity through countless challenges before. She reminded them that while they were outmatched in numbers, they carried with them something the Crozarians lacked: empathy, courage, and an indomitable will to protect life. This mission wasn't about domination or revenge. It was about taking a stand, proving that no force, no matter how powerful, could intimidate those who chose to fight for others. The Aegis crossed into Crozarian territory, its sleek hull slicing through the dark expanse. This was forbidden space, the final frontier where no other race had dared venture, let alone with a single ship. Other civilizations, watching from a distance, awaited the inevitable, the swift and crushing defeat of this small, solitary vessel. Whispers spread across communication channels, some curious, others resigned. What could humans hope to achieve with one ship against the Crozarian Empire? Within minutes of their arrival, the Crozarian flagship materialized, looming over Aegis like a mountain of metal and power. The Crozarian commander opened a transmission, his tone dripping with disdain as he observed the single human ship before him. "Is this all humanity offers?" he sneered, his gaze appraising the lone vessel. "One ship, sent to challenge the might of the Crozarian Empire?" His voice oozed with contempt, and he signaled his crew to prepare for what he anticipated to be a swift annihilation. The flagship launched its first volley, and plasma beams as wide as city streets cut through space, aimed directly at the Aegis. But the humans were ready. With calm precision, Captain Kerr issued commands, and the Aegis evaded, its propulsion systems allowing it to dance out of reach with ease. The Crozarians had expected a linear, conventional approach, something straightforward and uncreative, as most species would attempt. Instead, they faced unpredictable maneuvers, as the Aegis twisted, turned, and accelerated at angles that defied expectation. Rather than charging head-on, the Aegis circled around, probing the flagship's weaker points with targeted, calculated strikes. The Crozarian crew was growing frustrated. Every time they locked onto the human ship, it would vanish, reappearing at another angle, evading and taunting them. The Aegis wasn't outfitted with brute force weaponry. It had specialized munitions designed to disrupt Crozarian shielding and scramble their sensors. Unfamiliar beams disrupted power circuits on the flagship, short-circuiting key systems and throwing the Crozarians into momentary chaos. Their shielding wavered as the Aegis exploited blind spots, delivering surgical strikes with unwavering precision. The Crozarian commander barked orders, enraged by humanity's audacity and their ship's apparent resilience. This engagement was supposed to be a quick elimination, yet the humans had forced them into a prolonged battle. For the first time, the Crozarians found themselves on the defensive. They weren't prepared for an opponent that moved like water, slipping past brute force and dismantling them piece by piece. The flagship's weapon systems started to overheat, struggling under the strain of constant recalibration and failed targeting attempts. More systems flickered and failed, their overconfidence unraveling into desperation as the Aegis kept up its relentless assault. As the Crozarians faltered, it became clear that this was no mere show of bravado. humanity had anticipated the enemy's strengths, crafting a strategy that relied on adaptability, speed, and a mastery of their own technology. This wasn't just about holding ground. It was a statement that no one would be able to crush the human spirit so easily. The galaxy watched in awe as the Crozarians, once invincible, found themselves humbled by a single, defiant ship. The Aegis moved like a ghost, vanishing and reappearing across the Crozarian fleet's sensors, leaving the Crozarians uncertain of its true location. The human crew had anticipated that the Crozarians relied heavily on predictable, brute force tactics, and they exploited this by remaining as elusive as shadows, striking with precision only to fade into silence. Crozarian systems were fed false readings, showing the human ships splitting into multiple targets or vanishing altogether. Alarms blared across the flagship, as confusion spread and fear crept into even the most seasoned soldiers. Crozarian commanders, who had scoffed at humanity's lone warship, now found themselves questioning every sensor reading and every movement. How could this unremarkable species have created such a confounding vessel? Humanity, they thought, was barely worth considering, yet this display of psychological warfare contradicted everything they'd assumed. The human tactics were intricate, weaving together evasive maneuvers with disinformation, and the Crozarians struggled to understand the unfamiliar battle style. The notion of a lesser race employing such advanced deception shook them, sparking disbelief and anger. Some Crozarian leaders exchanged uneasy glances, trying to rationalize how a civilization they'd dismissed could be fighting so intelligently. As the battle progressed, the Aegis continued its unorthodox tactics, targeting not only ships but the morale of the Crozarian forces. Humanity's adaptability was on full display, with each maneuver and tactic shifting just when the Crozarians thought they had it figured out. The human crew switched their attack patterns, creating phantom signals that had Crozarian ships firing at empty space, wasting energy and adding to the mounting tension. The Crozarians' powerful vessels seemed clumsy in comparison, their predictable strikes and formations easily exploited by the fluid tactics of Aegis. Panic began to settle in, as the once formidable fleet grew increasingly reactive, forced to respond to the humans' ever-shifting strategies. The longer the engagement dragged on, the more disarray spread through the Crozarian ranks. Rumors of human ships with invisibility fields, of weaponry capable of bypassing shields, began circulating within the fleet. Paranoia took hold, and communication lines filled with frantic voices demanding orders, speculating about humanity's hidden capabilities. Some captains began questioning their own commanders, doubting the wisdom of pursuing the lone human vessel at all. The Crozarian commanders, once a unified force, now found their fleet faltering, their command structure disrupted by fear and confusion. Even in the vastness of space, the Crozarians were left shaken, realizing they'd severely underestimated humanity. It was more than a mere battle. It was a collapse of the Crozarians' own assured supremacy. The humans had done more than survive, they had dismantled the enemy's confidence from within, leaving the once feared Crozarian fleet vulnerable and divided. The final confrontation between the Aegis and the Crozarian flagship was nothing short of brutal. The human warship, running on its last reserves of power and resources, faced the full might of the Crozarians' lead vessel. Captain Kerr and her crew pushed their remaining systems to the limit, executing a daring maneuver to position themselves within the flagship's blind spots. The Crozarian weapons blazed, their heavy plasma blasts grazing the Aegis, but the human ship pressed on, undeterred. Every move was carefully calculated, each strike precise, as the Aegis struck at critical points along the flagship's hull, severing power lines and weapon systems in a relentless barrage. Drawing on their dwindling energy reserves, the crew delivered one final strike, unleashing all remaining firepower and a targeted blast to the heart of the flagship. The Crozarian ship shuddered, its once impenetrable armor fractured, systems failing as sparks and debris scattered into the dark. Realizing the gravity of the situation, the Crozarian commander, faced with the crumbling of his once invincible vessel, ordered his crew to stand down. The flagship fell silent, a stunned surrender hanging in the void. One by one, the remaining Crozarian ships scattered, turning away from the battle, their confidence shattered. Across the galaxy, the news of the human victory spread faster than the light from distant stars. Word reached every corner of known space, and civilizations once crushed under Crozarian tyranny now looked toward Earth, a planet few had thought capable of such courage. Whispers turned to hope, and hope to courage as species that had been in hiding dared to believe they, too, could resist. The Crozarians had been humbled by a single ship, and the galaxy now saw humanity as a beacon of resilience and strength. In the aftermath, humanity's representatives sent a message across the galaxy, calling for unity and the courage to stand against oppression. It was not a call for revenge, but a reminder that even the most powerful tyrants could be brought low by those willing to fight. Humanity's message was simple: the galaxy was a place for all, and no civilization, no matter how young or small, should have to live in fear. In the wake of this victory, alliances began to form, new paths of cooperation emerging as former enemies united under a shared vision of freedom. In the end, humanity didn't just win a battle, they reshaped the balance of power in the galaxy. With one single ship, they had changed countless lives, setting a new standard for bravery and tenacity. The galaxy would never be the same, and humanity, once an overlooked newcomer, had secured its place as a force of hope and strength, forever inspiring others to rise.